GoonsCast. I'm Noah and I'll be your host for today. I'm joined by my co-host Jack.
Hello.
And Ollie.
Hello there.
So this is our first episode and today we're going to be talking about cognitive film theory. So what do you guys think that is?
Cognitive film theory, isn't that where you watch a film and like it influences like your emotions and stuff?
Yeah,
Change your mindset in a sense of way.
That's very emotional, Jack. That's very deep.
Thank you.
Yeah, so cognitive film theory is the idea that watching a movie or looking at a certain piece of media like a short film or just a YouTube video
Music video.
can have a significant impact on your brain or your mental state, and it can actually have an impact on your lives. So have you heard of cinema therapy?
Yeah, cinema therapy. I can't speak, I'm sorry. Is the use of cinema or movies to manage medical, mental health, and life management. It has been used as a form of self-help to aid in inmate
It's
rehabilitation.
like prisoners.
Oh, prison.
They
Okay,
get
yeah.
to watch movies.
Fair
basically.
enough. Cinema therapy has been said by its proponents to change the individual's thoughts, feelings, and ability to manage life events.
So, if I'm bored, I can just kind of watch a funny film to make myself better again.
Yeah, so if, actually, no. It's backwards. A lot of people think that. But, if you say you're like sad about something, okay, your wife's leaving you,
Oh, not again.
Taking
It's
the
the
kids.
third one.
and you watch a sad film, right, and this guy's wife's died, okay, that's going to make you feel a bit better because at least your wife's alive.
Fair enough.
So it will help you have a better outlook on what's bad about your life. And also, if you're going through something that a character in the film is going through, then you can use what they do to try and help yourself get through it.
Say like
So-
a family member of yours dies.
I can just laugh at
You
the
can-
actor whose wife's died.
Yes,
Not go
yes, Jack.
to a walk and find some
Say
widow.
like a family member of yours dies. You watch a film where someone's whole family dies. Could work like that, couldn't it?
Yeah.
So that means you're more grateful for what you still have
Yeah.
in life. I also read about something called emotional conjugation.
Conjugation?
Conjugation? I can't speak.
What is that?
Conjugation.
Tell me about emotional conjugation.
So it's when you observe someone's emotions or behaviour for so long that you start to copy them. So an example, yes, in a movie, they will show a character's reaction for a little longer so that you begin to feel that emotion. It gets you more invested in the movie, makes you feel like you're more a part of it. It's like,
So is that like if me and Jack had a staring contest and I started pulling funny
That's what I'm
faces and
thinking.
start to laugh?
I've been looking at Ollie
Yeah.
for quite a while and
I'm
I'm starting
thinking
to feel
like
pretty
how-
sad.
when I watch like some TV shows, I just like imagine what my life would be like if I was in that show or if I was in that film.
I do that.
Now I feel sad.
Like,
No, do you never do that though?
I just kind of make my life a film
Like
as it is.
if you're watching a film,
I don't
oh, wow,
imagine-
that was deep.
I don't think I want to be that. I just kind of act as my life's already a film.
I just
He
picture
said
us
like
It's
Spider-Man.
just-
like a movie.
It's just a lot more fun.
But like, do you never watch like a superhero film and be like, damn, I wish I could do that?
I could kick stuff.
Might be times
Jack.
I've rewatched
Go,
Arrow
then I'm
and
good.
I've just gone, I wish I could do that.
You could just
Just
get a
go,
bow and arrow practice.
Why don't you just go out free running after?
do some free running? Get
Yeah.
practice with a bow and arrow. You sorted.
Yeah.
So, what else have we got about cognitive? Do you know anything, Jack?
Yeah, actually, one thing I'd like to say about cognitive film theory is how it's actually originally represented within the media. It's seen as like films like Joker would give a negative effect. So, you know, people will come out there with thoughts of harming others. But actually, in most cases, it's films that will end up with kind of giving people a positive effect. So, you know, people like go and watch. What's that one film about dogs?
Which
There's a lot
one?
of films about dogs.
Like A Dog's Purpose or something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's literally called a dog's
Like
Purpose.
that one, yeah, actually I think it is as well. That one is like a popular kind of example.
What was that? That was
It was the dog kept dying.
yeah. The dog keeps getting like
But people
reborn.
people
To
came out of it, but with more of a healthy kind of happy mindset.
I was gonna say for Joker, it kind of raises mental health awareness as well.
Yeah.
So like, people think with this theory that like if you watch a horror film like Friday the 13th, you're going to go around and start killing camp counselors.
So that's also a thing. Video games.
Video games causing violence.
They
Another form of
don't.
media that, like, hey,
Everyone that is basically above a millennial thinks video games cause violence.
Boomer said, game bad.
and
Yeah.
that child ends up being a violent sort of person. Is that really the game to blame, or is that your parenting?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how the child was brought up, like the environment they were brought up in.
It's like
Yeah.
with dogs. People always be like, "Oh, the dog's bad." It's not the dog's fault. The owner. It's their
Yeah.
fault.
Mm.
It's the owner's fault that the dog goes off and attacks people.
Because
Yeah.
they don't control it, they don't train it.
Don't train your dog, then the dog's not going to behave.
Right, that's going to do it for this episode. Listening, that's going to do it for this episode, and we'll see you all in the next one.
Welcome back to the GoonsCast. I'm your host Jack Oliver, and today I'm joined by.
My name's Noah Dennett.
Unlikely.
Right, today we're going to be talking about New Hollywood and the impact that has had onto the world of cinematography. So, for a start, what is New Hollywood?
New Hollywood, isn't that like the new wave? You know, like what is it? Hollywood Renaissance, isn't that what they call it? It's called
Hollywood, yeah,
something.
Hollywood Renaissance is another name for it. It was a genre of film that started between the 1960s to the early 1980s, where a new generation of young filmmakers came together to perform in the United States. They used improvisation. They used
Improvisation,
Improvisation,
I think you mean?
They use interpretation.
Improvisation.
Thank you.
I literally
For
just said
anyone
that,
at
Jack.
home wondering.
Thank you. Improvisation from other kind of big. What's he call it?
They take inspiration from like other genres of the media, and they implement them into their genre
They're
to make it
magpies.
better. Yeah,
Yeah,
magpies.
Like, oh, I
Yeah.
like that. Give me that. Put that in mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they did that. They did that with Neo, Italy, and the French New Wave. Also Japanese cinema. Oh my god.
Cinemas.
Cinemas.
Why, Jack? Why?
It's okay.
Bit
We're getting
nervous.
there. English. So what change did it actually have, and how did it kind of impact the entire industry? We're going to look at that today. Okay,
So,
most of it will be cut out.
Jack, what was something that was kept from? Because obviously modern cinema is a little bit different now. So what would you say is something that they kept from that time period?
You mean
Yes.
New Hollywood?
Yeah.
Oh, one thing that they introduced that we still have in our modern cinema was actually the cowboy shot.
What is the cowboy shot?
Well, it was
For anyone that doesn't know.
popularised during the.
Didn't they like bring in like all the Western films though? That's like where
Yeah.
Western started, which is
Yeah.
quite interesting. Yeah.
No, it's not where they started. It's where the big ones like the Clint Eastwood movies came in.
Yeah. So like they had some very
Yeah, prob-
good like key contributors
Yeah.
for this stuff. We had
Basically-
like John
Sorry, yeah, Jack,
Ford,
you were saying
Tom-
what
yeah.
was the cowboy shot?
I believe it was in 1966. I'm actually going to fact check that one. Yeah, it was in the Neon Italy film, in The Bad and the Ugly, introduced in 1966.
Good, bad,
Brought
yeah.
along and introduced the cowboy shot. It was popularised when New Hollywood started a new era of Western films. And still to this day, the cowboy shot is commonly used upon filmmakers.
Can you think of anything else that's used in? Pretty sure there's one in Star Wars, isn't there?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, 'cause
They
Star
use it in a
Wars-
lot of things though.
yeah.
Like it's a very key like you can tell
It's
the
like
references.
you want to
always
have
fit.
this like standalone guy who goes against everything. He's on his own. He's got his gun. Standing against someone's like arch enemy, just whips out
Yeah.
his pistol from his holster.
Yeah, well, it's
whop
a
out.
shot that lines at the knee and shows the person from the knee upwards, so you can see the gun. Star Wars is actually based off a bit of a Western film with the idea
Yeah,
of a
it is
cowboy.
a little bit.
Yeah, kind of.
Exactly, yeah. So the cowboy shot is used there. Other things that the New Hollywood changed was it was more open with violence and sex. It actually broke the Hades Code, which banned lustful kissing. That was broken in 1980. No, 19.
Lustful kissing.
Lustful kissing. That was banned according to the Hades rule. It
Yeah.
was broken in 1968. The idea of a low-budget film was also brought in, mainly from the new French wave. That was put into practice since most of the people who started these were
I was gonna say that would probably come from like students.
exactly
And people who
they
just
were
finished
students.
School.
They were the sort of people who started all of this.
Wasn't like
I said.
Japanese cinema like a really big like what it was one of the big influences of it. like Japanese cinema, Neo-Italian, and French New Wave. They were like the main three
Yeah, they were
like
the big ones.
key contributors to this new Hollywood.
Yes, they were kind of at the top of the inspiration for this all.
Alright, so for a couple people that were like the big contributors, so like directors, we had Mr. John Ford. He came into Hollywood after one of his brothers, and his brother was an actor. He became highly respected very quickly, and he was known for his Western movies. And despite a lot of them actually not being that serious, he managed to win 6 Oscars, 2 of which came from his own World War II documentaries, which were, I'm pretty sure they were fairly popular at the time of
They
him
were
making
quite
them.
popular back then.
And his characters in his movies were often the morally grey people in the real world who were trying to survive like the harsh reality of real life. And then of course we've got the classic Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah, known for
Which-
Psycho,
Yeah.
Vertigo, North by Northwest, The Wrong Man.
All very good films. I recommend some of those. Definitely Psycho. He joined the filming industry in about the 1920s, and he started off drawing film sets. He was a very, very talented artist from a young age, but his big break came when he was working on a film, and the director came. He became sick one day, and everyone was like, "Okay, Alfred, your time to shine. Take over." So he did just that. The film was Always Tell Your Wife. And yeah, when he took over, he finished the film. However, his first chance to become a fully fledged director on a whole movie was in 1922. So he was only doing all that for 2 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's pretty quick. He directed a film called Number 13. However, sadly, the film was never finished.
Didn't the studio close down?
I
So they couldn't do
I
it?
believe it was, yeah. So yeah, the film was never finished, and his.
But like,
I'll go for
after the studio collapsed, like he didn't give up on it. No, he went out there. 1925, he directed The Pleasure Garden,
Okay, I'll just go for
a
Alfred
British
Hitchcock
German
again.
production, and it was quite a popular film at the time, which I think is quite a good success for him. So like, he
It's
had
like
his first
he's
thing.
lost his studio, and then he's come back out of nowhere.
Yeah, he's just
Yeah.
come back. Everyone loved it.
Lee, would you like to tell us about Orson Welles?
Orson Welles, who was born on May 6th, 1915. His father was a well-to-do inventor. His mother was a beautiful concert pianist. Pianist? I don't know how to
Played
say
the
what.
piano.
He plays the piano.
Him himself was actually talented in piano.
Yeah, he was good at a couple of things. If I remember, it was music and was it art?
Yes, he
You
was
good
a painter.
Yeah.
He was orphaned at 15 after his
Sometimes.
father's death and became the ward of Dr. Maurice Bernstein of Chicago.
Ooh.
Yes. He graduated from the Todd School, I believe, in Woodstock, Illinois. Illinois? Is that how you-
Illinois, yeah.
Illinois. That's in the States, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Famous for films such as Citizen Kane, Touch of Evil, The Lady of Shanghai, and The Trial. All very good films.
Have you seen Citizen Kane?
I actually
It's a
haven't.
good film.
It's on my list of films I need to watch.
I recommend it.
Yeah, you're never going to end up finishing that list.
I know.
No one does.
Everyone has like that list of all the films they want to watch or like they need to watch, and they never complete them.
I don't think I'll finish it before college ends.
I know, but like I also have the list of like the DVD that I want to collect as well, and like the majority of the films on the DVD, so I might end up.
Mm.
What aspects are there then for?
Oh,
Yes.
New Hollywood, right. Some other aspects that has changed because of its kind of lesson goal, because of its more open rules on violence and sex. It actually brought a whole new kind of era to horror and romance.
Yeah, I could see how like more like violence and gore like that is more apparent today in like our horror films.
Yeah.
Like one key thing is they normally like hypersexualize a lot of stuff. in
Yeah.
them, but they also have like just the key
I
violence.
mean, the whole concept of something like Friday the 13th is it's a bunch of horny teenagers going to the forest
And
to do stuff, and then they're dead.
Mm. I mean, let's look at some of the bigger horror films around. The biggest horror film franchise that easily comes to my mind is Saw. I
I'd
mean,
say
yeah.
Friday the
That
13th.
I think we can all agree is an extremely violent.
Yeah, Saw's
Yeah.
got some pretty creative kills.
Yeah.
Where something like that before New Hollywood
All the
wouldn't have been
You
accepted
wouldn't have
at all.
seen
You wouldn't
a lot
have.
of it.
No one would have ever seen that. And
so
yet
many
here it is.
films, so many traps. Like
Yeah.
it is. Yeah.
Each. I think it's in like the first 5 minutes of the film. You see some guy with his intestines hanging out.
Something I want to
Just
bring
to put
up.
them back in, or
No,
Yes.
he's dead.
oh,
Back in 1990, we got the miniseries It.
Oh,
And
classic.
Back
Man,
then,
was that in the 90s?
it was in 1990. Yeah, we got the
Really?
miniseries of it, and then in 2016, wasn't it? We got the live action, the first live action
No,
film.
it was. Actually, it might have been.
It was 2016. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
we got the
you
live
may
action
want to
film.
fact check that.
And once that came out, loads of people were like, "You can't have that. It's so much gore and everything." But that's
It wasn't that gory though.
no, but it's like in the trailer they show him get his arm
Oh
ripped
yeah,
off,
yeah, yeah.
and like I guess that could be it. But you could see just by the parallels between the 1991 and the 2016 one how New Hollywood has affected
Yeah,
it.
because it's a lot darker. They're talking about books in the filming class.
What film comes to your mind when you think of New Hollywood? So like let's go with like the 60s era.
I just think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I'm
I
gonna be honest.
I think.
Yeah, that is quite effective.
I think that's about like 60s. It was set in the 60s at least.
Yeah, but like it came out recently, and like
Yeah.
that is quite it is
Yeah.
yeah.
I suppose there was some inspiration taken from New Hollywood put into that film. One that does come to my mind straight away would be the 1968 film Living of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
What was that about?
Basically, a group of people barricade themselves
In a play.
in
yeah.
a flesh-eating monsters. Yeah,
Yeah, there we have
it's
it.
just your classic kind of zombie film.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, a
where
bit like, it's
it's-
not zombie. It's more like
Well, flesh-eating. Yeah.
it's monster. It's not a
It's sort of
zombie because it would
Living
say
Dead.
zombies.
Living Dead. Sounds
Bonnie and
zombie to me,
Clyde?
but
That's-
it's a film that we wouldn't have if it wasn't for New Hollywood allowing those restrictions to be less on violence.
Yeah. Yeah, but 1967 we got Bonnie and Clyde. You know,
Yes.
well she falls in love with a criminal. She's
Yeah,
a waitress.
I'm not 100% sure what happens in that movie. Isn't it they just go around committing crimes and killing people?
I'm pretty sure they both die at the end, don't they? Oh,
I don't
unless
remember.
I'm just imagining things. I probably am, but
Thank you all for listening. This has been the GoonsCast with your host Jack Oliver, joined by Noah Dennett and Ollie Likely.
yeah. See you next time. Right, hello. I'm Ollie, and I'm here with,
I'm Noah.
And I'm Jack Oliver.
and welcome to the GoonsCast. This is the third and final episode. Today we'll be talking about representation of black characters in the media.
So we thought it'd be a good idea to start with looking into the Star Wars franchise.
Yes. So the Star Wars franchise has been going on for around 40 to 50 years. With 11 canon films, it has only had 7 named black characters throughout its time.
We did originally, when we did our counting, think there was 8, and then we realised we counted the same character twice, once when they were younger, once when they were older.
How do we compare Star Wars to other media? Like, how are black people represented differently?
Firstly, when you see how they're represented in Star Wars.
So, the first one was like in the 40s, wasn't it? Was it the
no,
60s?
I think it's 60s, 70s.
It was like that, but back then in the original trilogy, there's only one named black character, Lando Calrissian. That's it. There were actors who played them, but not the characters.
77.
77.
Yeah.
So back then, only one character. Then we got the prequels, and we got 3, which shows a bit of growth. And then the sequels came out, and we also had 3. No growth in between the prequels
Yeah.
and now, which is quite bad. Granted, there is more canon stuff involved in Star Wars
Yeah.
other than the films, but we're not delving into that at the moment. And then the stories, we've got a collection of 3.
So the different black characters, a lot of them haven't been given massive roles. Obviously, you had Lando
Yeah,
and
Lando.
Finn.
Finn was quite a big role.
I think they were the only 2 like main characters.
Well, like, a good thing about the sequels, Finn, he was displayed in the first trailer as the main protagonist.
Oh,
Right.
hang on, I've forgot about Samuel Jackson.
Oh yeah,
I feel bad now.
God. But yeah, it shows it. Like Finn, he was in the trailer the most for Force Awakens.
Yeah, I think he
Ray.
was in.
He was the
Yeah.
him and Ray were the leads.
Yeah.
So that is quite good. Granted, was it China? They cropped him out of the poster.
Yeah. That was a bold move.
Yeah, that shouldn't be happening in this day. It was 2015. That shouldn't happen.
I believe that
Yeah.
was 5 or 6 years after the Equality Acts
Yeah.
put here in the UK.
What were they?
I think it was only around a decade ago a Equality Act was put in that was made it basically kind of in a sense illegal to see or to act on anything that makes people kind of not equal. So like in workplaces, only picking people because of of who they are.
Yeah, their race.
That's
Their
sort of
race,
like
gender.
it goes into how like with like superhero films, let's say they drive a lot from their source material of the comics. With that, now you see like them branching off, and you're getting like other characters like Miles Morales as
Yeah, I was
Spider-Man.
about to bring that up.
He was like no one ever like thinks about him, and they never used to. But now he's got a new game. He's got Into the Spider-Verse.
I was gonna say that because before Into the Spider-Verse, I knew like nothing about Miles Morales as a character.
See, like,
I knew that he was in Spider-Man, but I didn't really know who he was.
and like now we're learning he's even better than Peter Parker's Spider-Man. That's
Venom
even better.
powers.
Yeah, Venom powers, invisibility.
Yeah.
That's quite good.
You said like 6 times, not 5. That was unlikely.
Cut that out.
But yeah, like it just shows like progression over time, and like it's not really about race, but like they're gender flipping some roles. You know what I mean? Like, I mean
Yeah,
how
I mean, in Star Wars, Rey.
see a TV show I quite like to watch. I think Jack's watched a bit of it. It's The Flash. They have been flipping a lot of the villains now.
Really?
So that means like a white male villain, it can now sometimes be a black female or black male, or just a white
Okay.
female.
Mm.
Like they're switching it out now.
With things like this, though, you also need to take into account if they're doing it only for the male gaze.
That's
Male gaze
true.
theory being the theory that attracting in a male audience
Yeah.
by sexualising females. And that's something that you always need to keep in mind with things like this. Sure, is it that them trying to have a more equal sort of pathway, or is it them trying to be...
I feel
Don't
like
think
it's
so.
more of them just trying to be like, yeah, women can play these roles too. Like pantomimes, they flip the main character normally.
Yeah. That's
You go
right.
to see
Yeah.
Jack and the Beanstalk over at Fernham Hall. Normally, it's a woman playing Jack. How could we change?
7
How would
minutes.
you change it
That's very
as a
good.
film like director? You're the casting.
I personally would have.
It's a small details that make a difference. So just casting more kind of black named characters to be in like the background and all of that. Maybe add like another main character, just so everything kind of
Yeah,
comes to an
'cause-
equal stance.
A big thing with the
Not
background
letting-
characters in Star Wars is that they're all aliens. So if you look at like the Cantina, for example, there's not really many
and a lot of them
humans
don't
in
get
there.
names. We always have the classic cliche. They die
Black man
first.
dies first. Yeah.
And over time, we have seen it starting to change. I feel like that cliche is just like it should start. It should just go by now. It's a bit unfair, isn't it?
Mm.
Everyone predicts it.
Can't comment on that one because I hate horror films. They scare me.
Noah, do you have something to add?
Yeah, there's a film called The Babysitter.
I have seen
Do
both
you-
of them
do
on
you know
Netflix.
King Batch.
Yes, he's.
I
in.
can't remember if he was the first to die or not.
He was actually.
Was he?
Unless you count the police officers, he is the first out of all the
Yeah.
antagonists to be murdered. I've been on likely. This has been
Noah.
I'm Jack.
and this has been the GoonsCast.
Welcome.
We won't see you next time actually. Goodbye.